Thank you, Senator Graham. We have some wonderful witnesses today. And let me begin with Abigail E. Disney. Ms. Disney is the CEO and co-founder of Fork Films, chair and co-founder Level Forward. She is a filmmaker, philanthropist, activist, and an Emmy-winning director. Ms. Disney is the granddaughter of Roy O. Disney, co-founder of the Walt Disney Company, which makes her an heiress to the Disney family fortune. Ms. Disney, thank you very, very much for being with us.
Thank you, Senator Sanders, and also thank you to Ranking Member Graham for letting me come and testify for you here today. I grew up with one of the most recognizable names on earth in a family that went from dirt poor to embarrassingly wealthy in 2 generations. My grandfather managed to accumulate a large amount of wealth in a tax environment some now call punitive. He built a series of wildly successful businesses despite negotiating with highly empowered unions who had support from the federal government. He managed to navigate a regulatory environment many now describe as draconian. Somehow he managed to do all of this despite living under conditions that many rich people now would claim would make their lives impossible. The commonly held image of the wealthy as being ungenerous and elitist is, I'm sorry to say, completely consistent with my own experience. The bubble it creates can be self-affirming, and poverty, hard work, and struggle become a distant and exotic experience meant for other sorts of people. You can start to believe that you are admirable because you have money, and you have money because you are admirable. And this mythology of relative merit conveniently supports doing nothing about the unfair structures advantaging a handful of people. They're supported in this delusion by a political system that needs your money more than it needs to fight for its constituents. We have gone so far down this rabbit hole to hell that we have lost touch with some common sense notions, like that those who have benefited more from society should pay more for its upkeep, or that a profitable company is not built as much by executives as by its workers. One place to start to right this wrong is by changing how we tax people like me, who inherit huge sums of money and pay less in taxes for owning things than most Americans pay on the money that they earn by working. That's why I support the 99.5% Act and equalizing capital gains and earned income tax rates. Some senators have recently proposed repealing what's left of the estate tax, which would do nothing but reward people who lucked into the American dream just by being born into wealthy families. As if inheriting money wasn't advantage enough, I'm able to use it entirely to live by living off of investments. And thanks to the capital gains tax rate, I pay half the tax rate of people who are working for a living. It's time to stop rewarding people who make money simply by having money. Lately, I've made myself obnoxious by pointing out that the CEO at the company that shares my name shouldn't earn 1,400 times what his average worker makes, or more than 2,000 times what his lowest paid worker makes. I am not against a person making a lot of money per se, but if you do so while people who cash paychecks with your name on them are skipping insulin, or in one heartbreaking case, dying while sleeping in their car, it's only common sense that a larger share of profits would be better deployed to make sure your employees can meet their basic needs. Of course, Disney is not the only company overpaying its CEO, and it's not even the worst. That's why I support a higher minimum wage, because there is such a thing as not enough. But I also support Tax Excessive CEO Pay Act, because there is also a thing as too much. In 1970, a CEO, and that would have included my grandfather, got paid roughly 20 times what their typical worker was paid. Today, the average CEO makes about 320 times. This is absurd, and our tax code should treat it as such. If these CEOs are worth their astronomical salaries, these companies are more than welcome to cover the tax or to raise wages for their other employees. It's also time to institute a wealth tax so that we can deploy at least some of the hoarded and impossible to spend sums of money that the wealthiest have locked up, often built on the backs of workers, to programs that help give those same workers fair and decent life. It's time for the wealthy to stop viewing taxes as a punishment instead of a responsibility. A half century has been spent denigrating the government and all it can do to protect its vulnerable and poor. But good governance is possible, and it can't exist without revenues adequate to the challenges it has. The wealthy have begun to think that society and government should serve their interests alone. That's why I'm a proud class traitor. It's time for the rich to ask what we can do for our country, not the other way around. Thank you, Chairman Sanders and Ranking Member Graham and the committee.
Thank you very much, Ms. Disney. Our next panelist is Gabriel Zuckman, Associate Professor of Economics at the University of California in Berkeley. His research focuses on accumulation